Today's gonna be fun. Well, I don't know how about fun, but it's gonna be a good day. Week 3, we've got 1 minute of running, 30 seconds of walking for 8 rounds, shortest amount of time walking. So my goal for today is gonna be around that 7:30 pace because of the outdoors. I am at a track though, so it is flat. That does play into consideration, but because of the 30 seconds only for the walking, I'm gonna be happy and content if I get around 7:30. Also with the track, I'm pretty much have this place by myself. So I brought the toys. I brought some drones, some 360 cameras, a bunch of stuff that I won't need and just distract me from actually running. But I'm excited. Take a look inside. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some content and some visuals that just offer a different perspective. Yes, I got this goofy thing on. I'll check it in with you during and then after. But it's been a good day. Play it cool. Try to look normal. Nothing to see here. Man, it feels good to run around a track. I remember only 30 seconds today. $7:18. Only 30 seconds. Maximize recovery. So I went a little harder than I should have or needed to. Remember, I'm going for 7:30 for the average of the entirety, so I can play around with it a little bit. And we're live. Think about it, it's only 12 minutes total. 8 minutes of running, 4 minutes of walking for this first part. That's it. Trying to glide, be buttery smooth. Arms are sawing forward and back. Patience, push. Patience, push. I gotta hold me accountable. If I can hold a full conversation, I'm not working hard enough. I should be in gear 2, not complete sentences. Hey, it's consistent. 7:18 again. All right, Matt, so you're faster than the goal. You get about 12 seconds to spare. So let's pull back a little bit more. I'd rather do 10 seconds over than under again. Okay. Keep my body as relaxed as possible. Less movement without sacrificing speed, the better. I'm getting rid of any extra. Lowering the interest payments, paying more in the principal. I'm moving forward. Pull back a little bit. Here we go. Exactly what I said I'd rather happen. 7:39. So I'm still averaging below the goal of a 7:30. If I average a 2, I'm at my goal. After this one, I'll be halfway through. So I'm still going to conserve a little bit more. Aiming for at 7:30 or slightly above, but not faster. The cool thing is once you got the mechanics down, you don't think about the mechanics at all. It's just that gas pedal. Push down further, go faster, lighten up to go slower. $7:18 again. Halfway through. So as far as the peaks and valleys of the heart rate response today, will be shorter valleys. because only 30 seconds of recovery. So higher peaks. Let's do it. Relaxed. Just some slight tension in my elbow so my arms don't drop down. But the upper arm is swinging forward and back in sync with the lower leg. Arms roll is to help the legs. You'll never guess what it is. 7:18. All right, I'm gonna hush up now. I'm 184 heart rate. That's redlining. I'm gonna shoot for a 7:45 this time. Come on. Seven 39, 185. I got it. Or your mind tries to tell you to stop and pull back. It thinks you're in danger. You're not in danger, you're just evolving. Is this thing broken? 7:39 again. All right. Last one. Last one. Come on, man. Oh. First half coast. Second half turn it up. All right, finish on. Ah. 188. Fact. Once my heart rate recovers, talk a little more strategy that I noticed. So something to think about. I talk about the 3 gears a lot. Effort levels, organizing your intensity, your efforts into 3 different gears. Gear 1, gear 2, and gear 3. Gear 1 is something you could hold a conversation in, conversational pace. Gear 2 is you can get a few words out, but not full sentences at a time. And gear 3, 1 word out between breaths, if that. You don't want to talk, and you probably can. So there's a difference between maybe being in your zone 3 heart rate zone. For me, it's around 171 to 185, I believe. But there might be times where I feel I am in that heart rate zone, but my pace doesn't reflect a typical pace. Yeah, it should be faster than gear 2 and gear 1, but it's all about the feeling and the effort. We're trying to match it up. So when you get into that gear 3 effort, talk about normal breathing is diaphragmatic. What that means is it's all pressure differentials within the lung compared to the atmosphere. Air goes from high to low. Typical breathing at rest and at lower exertion levels, it's all stomach breathing. Stomach goes out, stomach goes in. That means the diaphragm's going down, diaphragm's going up, changing pressure differentials. But as we get into those higher effort levels, as our heart rate gets up higher, we need more oxygen and fast. So that's where we call upon our backup muscles, our accessory muscles. That's where we're using traps. That's where we're using pecs. But the thing is, we don't want those at lower effort levels, at slower speeds. Some people even at rest, anxiety, tension, stress, they breathe with their shoulders and their chest. Ideally, it's only once we're getting in those higher efforts, gear 2 and gear 3, later gear 2, where it's okay to start using those. And we don't stop using the stomach. We don't hold our stomach in the whole time. You won't be able to get full air in and out. It goes stomach out, chest up, down, in. And the good news is you don't have to think about that. Maybe just think about don't restrict anything. That's where we get in trouble. Your body's normal physiologic response, it will serve you, it will breathe, it knows how to breathe. It's been doing your whole life when you've been awake or sleeping. But if you're unconsciously trying to restrict or engage something or pull something in, that can affect the pressure differentials and thus affect your breathing. So what you may see is me during those last efforts where I was in the 180s for the beats per minute. I'm using my chest, I'm using my traps because I'm trying to get as much air in as possible. But that run felt pretty good. I don't have to tell you, I was with you. You were with me the whole time. Definitely more challenging towards the end. Once I was getting in the high 170s, low 180s heart rates, that's where I started to shut up more. I had to save all my air for breathing, not talking, not yip-yapping. But I think what we'll see is that the pace will come out to, if I had to guess, somewhere around maybe a 7:25 pace. A fair number of them were 7:19. A fair number were 7:39. Some a little bit higher, some a little lower, so we'll see. We'll see what the average is. 8 minutes total of running. And hopefully you can see the benefits to the strategy. Doing it this way, there's so many different strategies you can implement. You can have a goal each and every run and feel progress. Just asking yourself when your body wants to pull back, say, well, this time I'm only doing 8 rounds. Last time I was doing 10. The last it's only 30 seconds of walking, but what did I do? What did I do this time? Just always playing those mind games and tell yourself, well, it's only 8 rounds. I can do this. 30 seconds is plenty of time. It's all on how you perceive it. Maybe you just need to really focus and maximize on those 30-second recoveries. The more relaxed, the more loose you are, the less the muscles demand, the less they're on, the less oxygen demand, the lower your heart rate can go. We do not negotiate with terrorists. I am not negotiating with myself. I just got home from work and I'm just going to run now. Going there. I'm going to the apartment gym. I know it seems like I'm outside, but I'm sticking with the theme. Wednesdays, midweek, 9 rounds is treadmill. So I have something to compare to. So we had 9 rounds. We got 1 minute of running, 30 seconds of walking. Last week with the 45 seconds of walking, it was a 7:09 pace. The other day when I was outside for the current parameters for 8 rounds, I did a 7:27 pace. So my goal is, I'm gonna get a little wild, but my goal is around a 7 minute or 8.5 miles per hour. It might be just a second or two over 7 minutes per mile pace for 9 rounds. So I got that, 30 seconds of walking, 9 rounds. And yeah, I'm gonna push a little bit. I wanna feel exhausted. My back feels pretty good. And I want to see what I'm capable of. So Godspeed, I'll see you in a bit. That went surprisingly a lot better than I thought it was going to go. Did the usual kind of psych myself out of it a little bit, thinking, man, only 30 seconds, that's pretty quick. By the time the treadmill gets to speed and gets down to walking, it's barely any time. But that brings me to a point too. Hopefully I said this before, if not, super important. If you're doing these intervals on a treadmill, make sure you do it where it's the quick touch buttons, where you can either just hit a button and immediately goes to the speed. For example, if you want to go 7.5 miles per hour, there'll be a list of 1 through 12 usually on the side, and you would just hit 7 and then 5, and then automatically goes to 7.5. And if you want to walk at 3.5 miles per hour, you hit 3 and then 5, and it goes down. Don't try to arrow down the whole time. That'll take forever. It's exhausting. It's annoying. It messes with your arm swing, your form. You get more winded. This one doesn't have those buttons, but it does have a little numerical pad where you can just keep it up on the speed and then just hit 7.5 on the screen, enter. So it's still better than doing the arrows. It's super important. But I kept it 8.5 miles per hour the whole time. Felt really good. Didn't start getting into that, oh gosh, this sucks, 170 range until towards the end, the latter part. 30 seconds, while it was quick, I felt like it was ample time. Towards the end, I was starting to have to push myself a little bit. And I always think about when it gets to that point, just remembering, I think it was David Goggins that says, when that voice in the back of your head starts to come up and starts to self-doubt, it's you're only 40% of the way done. So the way I like to think of it is your body's trying to have a protective mechanism. It's still trying to conserve. It doesn't want you to be in danger. So that voice comes on way early, but if you can train it, you can push it back and suppress it if you still got 60% left in the tank. So I start to not always listen to that first voice that comes up, to second guess it, to question it and see, am I truly about spent, or am I just wanting to walk or needing to walk? Wanting, of course I want to walk, but need, that's a whole different story. So it felt really good. I felt really challenged. It'll be interesting to see as time goes on, as the walking is going to stay the same amount of time, but I'm going to start going up on the running time. But I really love this pattern of the 9 rounds on middle of the week being on the treadmill. And so then I have something to compare it to the previous week, 9 rounds. What was my pace? What can I shoot for? And then I also have something to compare it to for earlier in the week for outdoors. So it just constantly gives me something to shoot for. Otherwise, I can't tell you how many times, how many years I would just get on the treadmill and go and just do the same thing over and over and over again. And our body adapts to its demands. We're not going to make progress or challenge ourselves. We're not going to make progress if we're not challenging ourselves. So this way of being incrementally doing more, being able to reason with logic in our brain of saying, well, I did this pace last time, this many rounds. There's no reason I can't do that this time, or a little bit more. So I love this. I hope I keep doing this even as I start going into the half marathon training plan in a few months, 3 months or so. So anyways, I love you all. I'll do the stats breakdown later just to see a little bit more of the heart rate, but feel really good about having my fastest pace yet of a 7:03. And also, even with the walking, the treadmill hit 1 mile around 8:30, 8 minutes and 30 seconds, which is 7 miles per hour. So I think it's my fastest 1 mile time since surgery. So we're getting there. So here's where we're at. Yes, I have a camera on my head. I just got this. So you may see some POV footage, but because I don't like running in the morning, because I hate it, I've waited. It's too late. It's now 90 degrees, but it feels like 96. I'm done making excuses. I just have to go and I just have to do it. I was going to do it on the treadmill, but I said, no, I like this pattern that I've got going. So what I'm going to tell myself is every single run doesn't have to be a PR. Every single one doesn't have to be improvement. Just go out and just do it. See how it goes. So that's what I'm going to do. It may not be faster, but I'm going to get it done anyways. That's the reality of it, and we'll see how it goes. My goal is going to be conservative, but still somewhat optimistic. It's 10 rounds of a minute of running, 30 seconds of walking. For 10 rounds, I'm going to try to shoot for a 7:30 pace. So when I did this the first time of the week, I was like 7:27, but it was on flat. It was on the track, so there was no hills. So now there's hills. Now it's 2 rounds more. My heart rate was really high then. And yes, my fastest on the treadmill on Wednesday was like 7:03, but that was under good climate conditions and no incline. So again, I'm going to be conservative with my goal. Somewhere between 7:30 and a 7:45 is the average pace that I'd like, knowing I only have 30 seconds of walking. So let's do it. done. Not perfect, but again, I did it. I need to not be a perfectionist, and not every time has to be better. So some of the rounds were good, some of them were not so good. I tried to take the approach of starting off slower and then trying not to let that make me mad and make me want to go improve. So I chose to do this big kind of roundabout loop where pretty big hills on the way out and then downhill on the way back. Well, I thought I was going to time it in such a way where it was going to be pretty even, hills the way up, down on the way back, but no, I think only my last interval was downhill. So I'll be eager to see later when it does that incline conversion pace thing to see where I'm at. But the most important thing, I definitely didn't get my goal of between 7:30 and 7:45. It's probably closer to 8, and that's okay. If I look back to the previous weeks outdoors, it's probably closer to that. And knowing the biggest thing was I reduced the walking down to 30 seconds. That's huge. That's a lot less time for my heart rate to recover. So I have to remember that. Even if I were to keep the same pace, that's actually progress. So I have to keep that in mind and remember that and not let my ego get in the way. So the other thing is I want to make sure at least I'm giving it my best effort. It might not be my best performance, but best effort. And how I know that is with the heart rate. Knowing your heart rate zones, knowing where you redline, knowing where you peak, where's your zone 5. As long as I'm getting to that zone 5 in the end, then I should feel content. I gave it my all. And my last effort, it got up to like 185, 184. So that's the goal. I push myself. As long as I'm pushing myself, that's all that matters. The pace will come, the performance will come. I'm still super early on in this journey, trying not to remember all the times and speeds and paces that I used to be able to do. This is starting over from scratch. This is totally new. I've got hardware. I'm coming out of 12 weeks of doing nothing, not just doing nothing, but trying to heal and being down and out. So I have to give myself some more grace. Another pep talk for myself later. So yeah, we'll see. I'm going to do the stats chat later, see how things are going. Overall, this week was successful. I did it. I accomplished it. I'm here. And we're going to start now toying with increasing the running time by 15 seconds each week. So slow and steady, slowly but surely, we're going to get there. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're applying these concepts to you. And maybe even you get one little pearl, one little nugget, then it makes it worthwhile. Feel free to send me ideas or things you want to hear about or see. Because again, this is for not just me, but for you guys. How can I help you to run smarter, safer, and faster? But I'll catch you later. So for this week's stat chat, let's zoom out big picture and think about this from a global aspect. If each week the amount of time running is staying consistent, it's 1 minute every time. Week to week, what's fluctuating is we're decreasing recovery. Walking time gets less and less time to recover. So therefore, progress would be made if I can keep the consistent pace week to week with less recovery. It would be a bonus if also not only keeping the pace, but if the pace gets faster. But those are two separate things. And remember, the point of this is to not just geek out on the stats, keep me accountable and keep me motivated, but look for signs of progress or where might I need to focus. So if we look from that aspect, that global aspect, week 1, week 2, and week 3, let's first look at 8 rounds. So 8 minutes pace, then you got improved to a 7:39, and then a 7:27. So that's progress, not only that the pace is getting faster, but the recovery time is getting slower or getting lower. So therefore, that's progress. If we look at the 9 rounds on the treadmill each time, remembering its different considerations, but these are all for 9 rounds, the pace got faster, 7:30, 7:09, 7:03. If we look at the third run of the week, the 10 rounds, this is where it was consistent, 7:27, got faster, 7:14, but then yesterday, only 7:55. So here's why not to get discouraged. Yes, it was a 7:55 pace, which was slower, but if we look back to week 1, run 1, it was an 8-minute pace. So with a full minute of walking recovery, I had an 8-minute pace. This time with only 30 seconds of a walking recovery, it was 7:55. So even if it was the same at 8, or even a little bit more, that's still progress. So try not to beat myself up about it. And there's a lot of data, but the data that I want to look at is the pace and the heart rate for each workout. Ideally, the heart rate goal for each individual interval, run, walk, repeat, for each one, we want to see a slow rise in the heart rate, but then a fast fall. As we get more fit, it becomes harder for our heart rate to go up, and our heart rate response of recovery gets faster and goes down faster. So for each individual interval, we want to see that slow rise, fast fall for the shape of the hill or the mountain. But if we look at overall the entirety of the whole workout, we'd like to see a slow, steady increase. We don't want to see it really high and then bonk out and go lower. So this is the goal. And we can see that each week, maintain that slow, steady increase from start to finish. Interval 1 to the last interval. If you look at the pace goal, this is for each individual interval. We want to be as consistent and flat as possible. If we look at the entirety, interval 1 to the last one, we want to see not just it steady and flat, but maybe even increase slightly, getting faster. And what this means is we're learning to conserve. We're learning to have those different gears. We're learning to not empty the tank early on. So you can see I'm getting better at being consistent at the paces, whether it's indoors or outdoors. Indoors on the treadmill, it's easy. You just hit the speed and you just keep up with it. Where there's more of the skill and the pacing is where it's outdoors. So getting a little bit more consistent with it. Overall, these are the goals. So weeks 4 through 10, this is where it's going to get interesting, but a little bit more consistent. The walking time is going to stay the same. Always only 30 seconds of walking. But each week, we're going to add 15 seconds of running. So therefore, longer time running before getting that walk and recovery. And then each week, we're adding. So therefore, remember, there's 2 different factors we have to keep in mind. Can we keep our pace consistent, knowing that we're running for a longer period of time before we get that walk? And also keeping the pace consistent because we're adding overall the quantity, the cumulative time of running. So trying to keep that in mind. Being consistent is progress. It's bonus if it's also faster. So I have to tell myself that. So I'll keep each week looking at what was the last run, what was the last time that week with those rounds. Can we be where are we at? Just to set targets and goals for each individual workout. Coming up, I'm going to do that 20-minute run for distance just to compare how far did I get this time compared to last time on the treadmill, and I'll post that separately. That's every 3 weeks where we're seeing how far can I go. No parameters, just going based off of feel, and then seeing how far can I get. And then the following 3 weeks, repeating that distance, seeing can I get further. So I'll post that again shortly. I'll sprinkle that in sometime in this week. Again, trying to keep with the spacing, the days of rest between, but somewhere can I place this 20-minute run for distance in there. I want to thank you again for being here. This is keeping me motivated. This is reigniting my love for not just running, but passion for performance and self-improvement. Again, I hope that you join me in this, not just follow along, but I encourage you to do this with me and or apply these same constructs, these same goals, same strategies into your running training program. But overall, good week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week.